get you talking.
We certainly will get you talking. Joining me in the studio all morning, Georgie Frost, consumer journalist, and Bobby Friedman, political commentator and barrister, giving their thoughts on all of the major stories breaking today. And another young gentleman, Femi Oluwole. I saw him on Sky News the other day, and I thought, there's a chap I need to talk to on my show. He's the co-founder of a new campaign called Our Future, Our Choice. And it's a campaign for young people who want to stop Brexit. So I'm delighted to welcome Femi to the studio. Good morning to you, Femi.
Hi, Miss Hartley-Brewer.
You could call me Julia. I'm not that old, Femi. I just wanted to ask you, first of all, at what age should people like me, oldies, I'm 49, and barely staggering to my grave as we speak at the end of the show, at what age do we cease to have a viewpoint that's worth listening to because we're going to die soon?
Absolutely, everybody should have their views listened to. I mean, actually, technically, according to the YouGov poll, it's right up to the age the age up group up to the age of 50 includes Remainers. So actually, you count among a Remainer demographic. So actually, your demographic voted to remain in the EU. Everyone should have a say, but if we have a general election, that lasts 5 years, and so statistically, we're all equally affected by the outcome. However, if Brexit, in 5 years, is Brexit complete? Can you re-legislate the UK, make all our own laws, as Brexiters want? Can you make trade deals with hundreds of other countries in the world, as Brexiters want? Can you do that in 5 years? No. Can you do that in 10 years? No. 20 years? Probably still not. So the people most affected by Brexit don't want it, and by the time Brexit is anywhere near complete, it won't be the will of the people.
But wait a second, Laura, we'll come back to that. But you say they're going to be most affected. Just what age? Just so I can tell my 11-year-old when I see her after the show, what age do you think I'm going to die? Because I'm 49 years old. My gran lived to 96. I reckon I've got another 50 years in me, Femi.
Yes.
I'm going to live with the consequences of Brexit, just as you are.
You're going to live with the consequences of Brexit to an extent, but I'll be...
You'll live longer than me, you reckon?
Statistically,
you will.
Statistically, that's
well,
the case.
Hold on a minute then. Okay, so are we going to say, for instance, that people who've got terminal cancer shouldn't get a vote because they don't live with the consequences? What about fat people? They're going to live less. Smokers, they shouldn't have a say as much. That's the argument you're giving. What about, we've got a new study today saying people who are born into poor working class families are going to live 8 years shorter than people who are born into middle class families. Realistically, well, in that case, they're going to live a shorter time. They shouldn't have so much of a say on these major political decisions.
Everyone should have a say. They should. Everyone should have a vote. The right to a say in the democratic future of the country is everyone's equally. However, it is a simple fact that in 5 years' time, the majority of the population in the UK will be one that voted Remain. So pursuing Brexit.
And you're saying that because the old people the people who are much older who voted for Leave, you're saying, well, they're going to die off. And so there's going to be a majority of Remain
I'm saying
voters.
Cast your mind forward 5 years. We are living in a country where the majority of people voted to Remain.
Because those people have died who voted Leave. That's what your argument is.
Well,
you are aware also that as people get older, those young people, you one day may make it to the ripe old age of 49 or 50 or 60 or 70. I hope you do. It may be that your political views change over time. As we see, there is a really noticeable political change as people move into the world of work, as they pay tax, as they buy homes and things, where their political views and standpoints can change.
To a certain extent, they do.
Well, they absolutely do.
Yeah, but the thing is, as I said, right up at the age of 50, people voted Remain, and I wouldn't call 50-year-olds particularly immature. And also, one of the main factors in people's Brexit opinions on Brexit is the information that's coming out every single day. Every single day, we're learning new information about what this deal's going to look like, what the effects of Brexit are going to be.
I think the big problem is we're not getting good information about one. I would say I've been a Eurosceptic for a number of years, long before we had the referendum, and I'm a Leave voter, a Leave campaigner. I have to say, I have yet to see a single piece of information that's made me question my decision. On the contrary, everything that the EU has said since has confirmed to me why it's absolutely necessary for us to leave.
Yeah, and that's something I actually wanted to touch on. There's this idea that all Remainers think that all Brexiters are uneducated or stupid.
I don't think they think that. The loud Remainers think that. The Remainers don't think that.
There are some who do, and please, anyone who finds somebody who says that, please point them out to me, because they're incredibly wrong. If you are a rocket scientist or a nuclear physicist, you're no more likely to understand what the single market is than anybody else. And that is the essence of what we're talking about. We're talking about, is it worth staying in the EU? You can't make a proper decision on whether or not you should leave the single market or not if you don't know what it is. And most Remainers and Brexiters, the country, never studied EU law, and that is the main thing.
Well, but we ask people to make a decision in their local council elections, in the European elections, in their general elections every 4 or 5 years, and we ask them to make the decisions. I've been out campaigning with politicians, watching them campaign as political journalists for many, many years. Trust me, most voters don't know the ins and outs of most political parties' campaign decisions and on their manifesto proposals at all, and yet no one questions the outcome of general election votes. And this is the only time I've ever seen anything question that, people just didn't understand. We had a very full debate ahead of the 2016 referendum. Everyone was told, all the Leave voters like me, we were all told we were going to go to hell in a handcart because of all the economic doom and gloom, all the establishment, every economic forecaster said it was all going to be awful. And we still chose, now whether that was to vote Leave, whether that was because we didn't believe those warnings, or there'll be people who say, I don't care, I think other things matter more than money. Democratic sovereignty and accountability, which is certainly where I am. We had that debate. Why are you trying to stop the outcome of a democratic decision?
Because, in a general election, you have a chance to go back. We don't.
We do. We could vote to go back into the EU.
On terms that would actually justify many of the Leave arguments.
Wait a minute, hold on a minute. You're saying the EU would give us such bad terms to return to the EU. I thought the EU loved us. They're our friends. Why would they do that to us?
As in, newcomers, they have to abide by a different set of rules than
the Euro?
Yeah, join the Euro, potentially lose your veto, all things that we can currently control now, but they wouldn't be the case if we rejoined. So if we wanted to have a Britain that has a powerful position that we currently have within the EU, then rejoining isn't really an option.
Do we have a power position within the EU? I mean, I don't want to rerun the 2016 debate, but the reality is one of the big arguments we've got at the moment is that we are so entrenched with the EU. The Remainers are saying it's just impossible to leave. EU law is so entrenched in our law. We can't possibly leave. It's too difficult. That suggests to me that we don't have much power and that the EU is controlling an awful lot of what goes on in our country, and that's what I don't want.
The EU has 750 MEPs. We have 73 of them. That means despite being one of 28 countries, we hold about 10% of its power. And the Parliament is...
Well, how'd that work out for the Lib Dems?
Sorry?
How did that work out for the Lib Dems in the UK Parliament? You know that our MEPs can't control what happens in the European Parliament. There are too few of them. But we can control. All British MPs have a say in the British Parliament, and they can control what happens.
This is politics. If you're one of the biggest representations in the European Parliament, you should have a say. The problem is, only 35% of people voted in the last European election. As a consequence, we have people like Nigel Farage elected to the European Parliament who just simply go there to insult people. They barely turn up for meetings, and they don't represent people. Can you imagine how influential we'd be if we had actual people that could actually work with other politicians, convince people, and not simply go there and say, the EU is a mafia, things like that. That's not particularly helpful.
Well, I think you'll find that Nigel Farage proved to be pretty popular when it came to the referendum in June 2016.
Given
that he was the only leader of any political party that was campaigning for Leave and Leave won, I would suggest that perhaps he does represent more people than you think he does.
He does. He's not particularly. He doesn't represent them in Parliament.
He represents them in the European Parliament. He is elected. He's failed 7-8 times to be elected
in the European Parliament. He doesn't represent them. I mean, he showed up to one of 42 meetings in the Fisheries Committee.
He represents them by trying to get us out, as he has succeeded. Okay, well, look, let's move on from Nigel Farage. He's old news. He's old news. Now, when I said that you were coming on my show, people were saying, look, this guy Femi, he works at the EU Agency for Fundamental Rights as an intern. He's fully paid up by the EU. You've actually you're a law graduate. You're 27 years old. You have actually left that job at the EU Agency for Fundamental Rights, but you were paid there, weren't you?
I was paid about €1,000 a month. It was basically a stipend to get by.
Okay, and you've left that job?
I basically quit it because I realized, all right, as somebody with a background in EU law, basically the subject matter of this entire Brexit decision, if I don't do absolutely everything in my power to make sure that the harm that I can see coming doesn't come to the people of this country, I'd never forgive myself.
Or isn't it also that this might do harm to your own career?
quite frankly,
Your career, you're going to end up with a better paid job if we stay within the EU, aren't you?
Well, if Brexit hadn't happened, I wouldn't be sat here.
You had a high paid job. I mean,
Oh,
so how are
no,
you living? What are you living on at the moment?
I could have been a lawyer. I could have chosen to go into corporate law. I chose to do internships where I was paid 150 euros a month in Brussels.
I could have gone into the city. I chose to be a low paid journalist for many years. I mean, that's people make choices. Can I check? But what are you living on at the moment, Femi?
Right now, nothing. I've got a little bit left.
So you don't pay any income tax? Are you on benefits?
Not yet, no.
Not on benefits, but you don't pay any income tax. You don't contribute to this country financially. Why are you laughing? That's a reasonable question, isn't
it? As in, I don't currently have a job. I'm working.
But you've chosen not to currently have a job. You could be working. I mean, there are jobs in McDonald's. You could be doing those jobs. You're choosing to do account. This is an important point. This is an important point because I've had an awful lot of time in the last couple of years having young people say, "Oh, it's our future." You say, "Our future, our choice." The name of your campaign. We're the people it's going to affect. Well, I'll tell you what Brexit also affects. It affects the people who go out to work every day and earn a living and pay tax to pay for things like the NHS, whether it gets another £350 million a week or not. We are the people who are actually the vast majority of people listening to this show right now on Talk Radio who go out, earn a living. Maybe they don't do their dream job. Maybe they do a job they hate, but they do it because they have to put money on the table. They can't work for free anywhere or on a stipend. And they are paying their bills. They're also paying the taxes to pay for everything else. And they have, as a majority of them, 52% of those who went out to vote. Not my problem if people choose not to vote. It's a free country. People don't have to vote. Young people largely, well, a third of them didn't bother voting. That was their choice. Do you not think it's a bit rich for you to say that, this decision's awful because it's going to be terrible for the economy when you don't even pay a penny in tax?
I quit my job in December, and so we're talking about a month and a half where I haven't been working purely because I've been trying to serve the country as best as I can. I've been living out my parents' loft for a month and a half. And having to mega bus it down to London, I think that I'm basically.
You think you're doing something better?
I think I'm doing something that helps the country. I mean, like I said, I can see that there's harm coming to the country, and I'm doing everything in my power to stop it. So
and do you not think there might be, even if you genuinely believe that Brexit is bad for the country, politically, economically, in any other way, and I believe that you are absolutely genuine in this, and you're a very genuine, you're a very clever young man, and. Do you not think there is more damage that could be done to the country, whether economically or politically, by undermining the results of a national referendum, the biggest democratic vote for anything in the country, in the history of this country?
Well, here's the thing. As I've mentioned before, in 5 years' time, we have a population that doesn't want Brexit. So I think if we
You're willing people to die, aren't you?
I'm not willing anyone to die. I mean, I don't. As much as I have a lot of pride in myself, I don't consider myself God. I don't have any particular power over life and death.
But when the old leavers die off, you're saying that you're going to have the majority, but you're going to be stuck with Brexit anyway.
We will be stuck with Brexit if we allow this to continue in 5 years' time. We will have a population. The will of the people will be against Brexit before Brexit is even complete. And I think, as for damage to faith in democracy, knowing that essentially those people will have the opinion that people were lied into a thing that's going to shape their entire futures. That will have so much more damaging effect on our faith in democracy if we know that it's because of UK politicians that our future has been taken from us and sent down the wrong path against our will.
You genuinely feel your future's been taken from you to live in a democratically free sovereign nation with accountable politicians, and you think that your future's been taken from you because you know that most of the world lives like that and functions really well.
Democratically free, we already are that. Sovereign country, we already are that. Hence the ability to pull out of the EU.
With 2 years' notice and paying sort of 40 billion quid of money that could go to the NHS or teachers.
We could walk away if we wanted.
Right, that's what I'd like us to do. Well,
I know.
We're going to end on agreement. I'd like to say I wish you good luck in your campaign, but that would be a lie. I wish you good luck in your career, though, Femi. I think you've got a fine future in politics. I just wish you believed in democracy a bit more.
It was a pleasure talking to you.
A pleasure to have you on. Thank you very much indeed. The time's 8:21. Coming up, we're going to go live to Florida. We're also going to be hearing from Nikki Morgan. She's writing to financial services firms, this big city firm, saying, why haven't you signed up to the Women in Finance Charter? That's next.
Talk Radio. Contact Talk Radio. Call 0344 499